3 words destroyed my relationship. You never listen. I screamed them at my girlfriend during what started as a simple conversation about whose turn it was to take out the trash. 30 minutes later, she was packing a bag to stay at her sister's house, and I was staring at our empty apartment, wondering how garbage collection nearly ended a 2-year relationship. That night changed everything for me, because I realized the problem wasn't the trash, the dishes, or even the fact that we disagreed. The problem was something sitting right inside my head, my ego, and it's probably destroying your relationships too, one argument at a time. But here's what I discovered after that disaster. There are 8 specific steps that will completely change how you handle every disagreement for the rest of your life. Not just theory, but real situations you'll recognize from your own life. Steps that ancient Stoic philosophers like Marcus Aurelius used to navigate conflicts while ruling the Roman Empire. Steps that turned my relationship disasters into deeper connections. I'm talking about learning to catch your ego before it hijacks your mouth. Learning to turn "you never listen" into "I'm feeling unheard and I need your help." Learning to transform the fights that usually damage relationships into conversations that actually strengthen them. Think about your last real conflict. In that moment, what was driving you? Were you focused on solving the problem, or was there a part of you that just wanted to be right? That's ego talking. It's trying to protect you, but what ego doesn't understand is that in relationships, winning often means losing what matters most. So I'm going to walk you through these 8 steps, and with each one, I'll give you scenarios so specific, you'll think I've been watching your life. Because while your conflicts might look different on the surface, the patterns underneath are surprisingly similar to mine. Step 1, self-awareness in the heat of the moment. All right, step 1, catching yourself before you explode. Marcus Aurelius called this the discipline of desire, basically training yourself to pause between feeling and reacting. Let me paint you a picture that might hit a little too close to home. It's Tuesday night. You've had the day from hell. Your boss dumped extra work on you. Traffic was a nightmare. You spilled coffee on your shirt. You walk through the front door and immediately notice dishes still in the sink, laundry still in a pile, and your partner is sprawled on the couch scrolling through their phone with the TV on. And something just snaps. Your brain starts screaming, "Are you kidding me? I've been working my ass off all day and they can't even clean up? Do they think I'm their maid? Do they have any respect for me at all?" Now, here's where most of us go wrong. We let that voice drive. We storm over and say something like, "Really? You've been home for 2 hours and you couldn't load the dishwasher." And boom, we're in a fight that has nothing to do with dishes and everything to do with respect, appreciation, and fairness. But what if, and this is the game changer, what if you caught yourself in that split second between feeling angry and speaking? What if you noticed, okay, I'm furious right now. My ego is telling me they don't respect me, but what's really going on here? Maybe they had a terrible day too. Maybe they've been dreading a difficult conversation with their mom. Maybe they're dealing with anxiety you don't even know about. Or maybe, and this is important, maybe they were planning to clean up after they recharged for a few minutes. That pause, that moment of self-awareness creates space. And in that space, you can choose. You can say, "Hey, I've had a rough day and I'm feeling overwhelmed. Can we tackle this together?" Instead of, "Why didn't you clean up?" Same problem, completely different conversation. That's the power of catching ego before it takes the wheel. Step 2, shifting from winning to understanding. Step 2 is about changing the entire game. Instead of playing who's right, we start playing what's really going on here. Here's a scenario that happens more often than we'd like to admit. Your best friend sends you a text. I feel like you've been distant lately. Did I do something wrong? And immediately, your ego jumps in with, what? That's ridiculous. I've been busy with work. They know that. Why are they being so needy? I shouldn't have to explain every little thing. So you text back, I haven't been distant. I've just been swamped. You know how crazy work has been. And what does your friend probably think when they read that? They're being defensive. They didn't even acknowledge how I'm feeling. Maybe they really don't care about our friendship anymore. Now, watch what happens when you shift from winning to understanding. Same text. I feel like you've been distant lately. Did I do something wrong? But this time, instead of defending, you get curious. You text back, I'm really glad you told me that. I didn't realize I was coming across that way. Can you help me understand what's been making you feel distant from me? Do you feel the difference? In the first response, you're defending your territory. In the second, you're inviting them into a conversation. And here's what typically happens next. Well, you didn't return my calls last week, and when I saw you posted on social media, but didn't respond to my text, I thought maybe you were avoiding me. And suddenly you understand. It wasn't about being needy, it was about feeling forgotten. So now you can say, oh man, I'm so sorry. I was overwhelmed and went into hermit mode. But I should have explained that. I wasn't avoiding you. I was avoiding everyone, including myself. That must have really hurt. See how understanding creates connection instead of distance? The Stoics believed that truth is always more valuable than victory. And in relationships, understanding is how we find truth together. Step 3. Vulnerability as your secret weapon. This one's hard for a lot of us because we've been taught that vulnerability is weakness. But I'm about to blow that myth apart. Let me tell you about the birthday story, and I bet you've got a version of this in your own life. Your birthday comes and goes. Your partner doesn't forget exactly, but it feels minimal. Maybe they remembered at the last minute, grabbed something generic from the store, and called it good. Meanwhile, for their birthday, you spent weeks planning, got them something meaningful, made it special, and you're hurt, really hurt. But ego says, don't let them know. Play it cool. Make them figure it out. If you have to tell them why you're upset, it doesn't count. So you get quiet, you get distant, you start giving one-word answers, and when they ask what's wrong, you say, nothing. I'm fine. But your whole body language screams, everything is wrong and you should know why. Here's what usually happens next. They feel the tension but don't understand it. They start guessing, are you mad about work? Are you upset about something I said? And when they guess wrong, you get more frustrated because now they seem even more clueless. But what if you chose vulnerability instead? What if you said, you know what? I need to tell you something and it's hard for me to say. When my birthday felt like an afterthought, I felt really invisible, like maybe I don't matter to you as much as you matter to me. And I know that might not be fair, but that's what it brought up for me. That's scary, right? Because vulnerability means they might not respond the way you hope. But here's what I've learned. Vulnerability almost always gets you closer to the truth. Maybe they say, oh my God, I had no idea. I've been so stressed about the work situation that I wasn't fully present. But that has nothing to do with how much you mean to me. I messed up. Or maybe they reveal something you didn't know. I've actually been feeling insecure about money lately, and I thought if I spent too much on your birthday, you'd worry about our finances. See how vulnerability opens doors that silence keeps locked. The Stoics understood that courage isn't about being fearless. It's about being afraid and choosing to act with wisdom anyway. And sometimes the most courageous thing you can do is admit you're hurt. Step 5. Reframing conflict as teamwork. This step is one of my favorites because it completely flips the script on conflict. Instead of me versus you, it becomes us versus the problem. Here's a workplace scenario that'll probably sound familiar. You're in a meeting about a big project. Your colleague Sarah says, "We need to prioritize speed. The client is breathing down our necks and we promised delivery by Friday." You respond, "But if we rush this, we're going to sacrifice quality. It's better to ask for an extension than to deliver something we're not proud of." Immediately, ego starts whispering, "Sarah doesn't care about quality. She just wants to look good to the boss." And Sarah's ego is probably saying, "They don't understand business pressure. They're being naive about client expectations." So Sarah says, "Look, I care about quality too, but we have to be realistic about deadlines." And you respond, "I am being realistic." Realistic about what happens when we deliver subpar work. But what if you both stepped back and reframed this? What if instead of speed versus quality, you saw it as, how do we deliver excellent work within client expectations? Suddenly, you're both on the same side. "Okay, Sarah, you're right that the client is expecting Friday delivery, and that's a real constraint. And you're right that we don't want to compromise the quality we're known for. What if we deliver the core functionality by Friday, but ask for until Monday to polish the presentation? Or what if we show them what we have so far and let them choose between Friday with basic formatting or Monday with full polish?" Now you're innovating together instead of fighting each other. The Stoics were masters at this kind of reframing. Marcus Aurelius would ask, "What obstacle can become the way?" In relationships, conflict can become the way to deeper partnership. Step 6, remembering this too shall pass. Step 6 is about perspective, one of the Stoics' greatest tools. When you're in the middle of conflict, it feels enormous, permanent, all-consuming. But it's not. Let me tell you about a fight I witnessed that perfectly illustrates this. Two siblings are dealing with their aging father who's becoming more forgetful. Sister says, "Dad needs to stop driving. Last week he got lost coming back from the grocery store." Brother says, "You want to take away his independence. That's what's keeping him going. The day he can't drive is the day he gives up." The conversation gets heated fast. Sister, "So we wait until he kills someone?" "Until he kills himself." Brother, "You live across the country. You don't see him every day." "I know what he needs." It escalates. Old resentments come up. "You always think you know better. You've never taken responsibility for anything. I'm the one who's been here taking care of him, and I'm the one who pays for his care." In that moment, it feels like this fight could destroy their relationship forever. But here's what I want you to remember. In 5 years, they won't remember who said what. They'll remember that their father needed care, and they'll remember whether they supported each other through it or tore each other apart. When you remember that this conflict is temporary, but your relationship isn't, it changes how you fight. Instead of "you never listen to me," it becomes "I'm scared about Dad too, and I think we're both trying to protect him in different ways." Let's figure out how to do this together. The Stoics practiced something called the view from above, imagining how current problems would look from a higher perspective or longer timeline. It doesn't make the problem disappear, but it keeps you from burning down what matters most while you're solving what's temporary. Step 7, boundaries. When detachment means stepping back now, I want to be really clear about something. Detaching from ego doesn't mean becoming a doormat. The Stoics believed deeply in justice, dignity, and respect. Sometimes the most stoic thing you can do is set a clear boundary. Here's a scenario where this matters. You're trying to have a conversation with someone about something important, maybe finances, maybe family responsibilities, maybe plans for the future, but every time you try to talk, they raise their voice, interrupt you, or start attacking your character instead of addressing the issue. Your ego wants to fight fire with fire. If they're going to yell, I'll yell louder. If they're going to attack me, I'll attack back. But that just creates more chaos. Detachment from ego allows you to see clearly, this isn't productive, this isn't respectful, and I don't have to participate in it. So you might say, I can see we're both upset about this, and I want to work it out. But I'm not going to continue this conversation while we're yelling at each other. I'm going to take a break, and when we can talk to each other respectfully, I'd like to try again. That's not ego, that's wisdom. That's protecting your dignity and their dignity. That's setting the conditions for a productive conversation instead of just venting frustration. And sometimes, I hope you never need this, but sometimes someone's behavior is consistently disrespectful, manipulative, or even abusive. Detaching from ego helps you see that clearly too. It helps you stop making excuses for behavior that shouldn't be excused. It helps you prioritize your well-being over keeping the peace. The Stoics weren't pushovers. They were some of the strongest, most principled people in history. Strength sometimes looks like staying in the conversation, but sometimes it looks like walking away. Step 8. Forgiveness as freedom. The final step, forgiveness. And I want to be careful here because forgiveness is one of the most misunderstood concepts in relationships. Let me tell you a story that might resonate. Your close friend asks to borrow $500. They're going through a rough patch, and they promise to pay you back in 6 weeks. You hesitate. You're not swimming in money yourself. But you care about them, so you lend it. 6 weeks pass. Nothing. You text them. Oh yeah, sorry, things are still tight. Give me another month. Another month passes. You bring it up in person. They seem annoyed that you mentioned it. I said I'd pay you back. God, I'm going through a lot right now. Now it's been 4 months. They're posting pictures from a weekend trip. They bought new clothes, but they haven't said a word about your money, and you're furious. Not just about the money, about the disrespect, the broken promise, the way they made you feel guilty for even asking. Ego says, cut them off. They used you. Don't let them forget what they did. Make them pay, literally and figuratively. But here's what I've learned about forgiveness. It's not about them, it's about you. Every day you hold on to that anger, every time you see them and feel that knot in your stomach, every time their name comes up and you feel bitter, that's energy you can't spend on anything else. Forgiveness doesn't mean pretending it didn't happen. It doesn't mean lending them money again. It doesn't mean they don't need to make it right if they can. It means you stop carrying the weight of their choices. So maybe you have that hard conversation. I need to tell you something. When you borrowed money and didn't pay it back, or even acknowledge it, it damaged our friendship. I care about you, but I also need to trust the people in my life. Maybe they apologize and work out a payment plan. Maybe they get defensive and blame you. Either way, you've said your piece. You've advocated for yourself. And now you can choose whether to keep this friendship and on what terms. The Stoics understood that resentment is like drinking poison and expecting the other person to die. Forgiveness is the antidote, not for their sake, but for yours. Step 8 is about choosing forgiveness as freedom, releasing resentment not to excuse others but to free yourself. If you're ready to stop carrying the weight of other people's choices, comment "I choose freedom" below. These 8 steps aren't just techniques, they're a complete transformation in how you approach conflict. Let me show you what this looks like when you put it all together. Step 8 is about choosing forgiveness as freedom, releasing resentment not to excuse others, but to free yourself. If you're ready to stop carrying the weight of other people's choices, comment "I choose freedom" below. These 8 steps aren't just techniques, they're a complete transformation in how you approach conflict. Let me show you what this looks like when you put it all together. bringing it all together. So let's step back and look at what we've covered. 8 tools for detaching from ego in conflict. Catching yourself before you react. Choosing understanding over being right. Having the courage to be vulnerable. Separating your opinions from your worth. Reframing conflict as collaboration. Remembering this moment will pass. Setting boundaries when respect is missing. And choosing forgiveness for your own freedom. Now, I'm not going to pretend this is easy. Our egos are strong, and they've been protecting us for years. Learning to step back from ego feels scary at first, because ego has convinced us that it's keeping us safe. I still mess this up sometimes. Just last week, I got defensive about something stupid and turned a simple conversation into an unnecessary argument. The difference now is that I notice it happening. I can catch myself mid-sentence and say, "Wait, I'm getting defensive. Let me try that again." But here's what I've seen. In my own relationships and in watching others practice these ideas, when you start detaching from ego in conflict, something magical happens. People start trusting you more because you're not trying to make them wrong. They start opening up more because vulnerability creates safety. They start working with you instead of against you because collaboration feels better than competition. Your conflicts don't disappear, but they transform. Instead of damaging your relationships, they strengthen them. Instead of creating distance, they create intimacy. Instead of leaving scars, they create understanding. So here's my challenge to you, and I want you to really commit to this. Think about a relationship in your life that has recurring conflict. Maybe it's your partner, maybe it's a family member, maybe it's a friend or coworker. The next time conflict comes up, and it will, I want you to try just one of these steps, just one. Maybe it's that pause before you react. Maybe it's asking, what are they really feeling, instead of defending your position. Maybe it's being vulnerable about what's actually bothering you. I want you to try it and then notice what happens. Did it feel uncomfortable? Did the other person respond differently? Did you learn something about yourself or them? Here's what I know for sure. The world has enough people fighting to be right. It needs more people fighting to understand. It needs more people choosing love over pride, connection over ego, wisdom over winning. You have the power to change how conflict works in your life, not by avoiding it, but by approaching it with more courage, more wisdom, and less ego. And when you do that, you don't just change your own relationships, you change the relationships around you, because peace is contagious. The Stoics knew that we can't control what happens to us, but we can control how we respond. In every conflict, in every disagreement, in every moment when your ego wants to take over, you have a choice. You can choose to be right, or you can choose to be connected. You can choose to win the argument, or you can choose to strengthen the relationship. And that choice, that moment of choosing wisdom over ego, that's where real strength lives. That's where love grows. That's where peace begins. Thanks for listening, and remember, every conflict is an opportunity to practice choosing love over pride. If this video gave you a new perspective on handling conflict and letting go of ego, drop this phrase in the comments. Peace over pride, love over ego. That way I'll know you're ready to take this wisdom and live it out in your own relationships. And if you found this helpful, don't keep it to yourself. Hit that subscribe button so you don't miss the next Stoic lesson, and share this video with a friend, a partner, or a family member who could use a little more calm and clarity in their conflicts too. Because the more we spread this kind of wisdom, the stronger, kinder, and more connected our world becomes.